In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. Among the countless stars of a cold and uncaring galaxy, two of the most terrifying forces imaginable are on a collision course. One, a green tide of pure, unadulterated savagery. The other, an all-consuming shadow that hungers for life itself. This is the story of the day the swarm met the storm. This is the tale of Octarius. For millennia, the Orks have been a plague upon the galaxy. A race of brutal fungal warriors who live for nothing but the thrill of a good fight. They are a fractured, chaotic people, divided into countless tribes and clans, forever warring amongst themselves. But sometimes a leader emerges, a warlord of such immense power and cunning that he can unite the squabbling greenskins under a single blood-red banner. When this happens, a WAAAGH is born, a psychic crusade of aggression, a migratory wave of destruction that sweeps across entire systems, fueled by the collective belief of trillions of Orks that they are the biggest and the strongest. And in the Octarius sector, the greatest WAAAGH in recent memory was gathering strength, a storm of iron and fury ready to be unleashed. But from beyond the galactic rim, a different kind of threat was approaching. A silent, creeping dread known as the Tyranids. They are not conquerors, they are consumers. A vast extragalactic hive mind, composed of countless bioengineered horrors, moving from world to world, stripping them of all organic matter before leaving them as barren, lifeless rocks. The hive fleets are the vanguard of this great devourer, tendrils of the main swarm that stretch out into the void, seeking new feeding grounds. And one of its most formidable tendrils, Hive Fleet Leviathan, cast its shadow over the galaxy, its path of consumption seemingly unstoppable. The Imperium of man, desperate and beleaguered, saw these two unstoppable forces drawing closer and hatched a desperate, insidious plan. An inquisitor named Kirkman decided to steer the storm into the shadow, hoping they would destroy each other. He baited the Orks, luring their massive WAAGH directly into the path of the encroaching Leviathan. He gambled with trillions of lives, hoping to bog down the Tyranids in a war of attrition. They could not win against a foe that only grows stronger through conflict. The stage was set for a war of a scale rarely seen. The first contact was an explosion of violence. Ork-killed cruisers, cobbled together monstrosities of scrap metal and raw firepower, met the first waves of Tyranid bioships. The void itself screamed as crude projectile weapons tore into living hulls, and organic plasma spit back, melting armor plate into slag. On the planets below, the invasion began. Spore pods, millions of them, rained down from the heavens, cracking open to release swarms of gaunts, their scythe-like claws and flesh-borer weapons, ready to reap a bloody harvest. But they were met by a roar that shook the very foundations of the world. The Ork boys charged, a sea of green muscle and rusted iron, their crude choppas and deafening shootas eager for battle. The early clashes were a study in contrasts. The Tyranid strategy was one of overwhelming numbers and cold, alien coordination. Hormigaunt swarms moved like a single flowing river of claws and teeth, directed by the synaptic web of the hive mind. They were relentless, feeling no fear, no pain, only the overriding instinct to kill and consume. Against them, the Orks were pure anarchy. Each Ork boy fought for himself, driven by a simple, joyous desire to prove he was the artist. Their tactics were crude, often amounting to little more than charging headlong at the enemy. But what they lacked in subtlety, they made up for in sheer, bone-breaking ferocity and unbelievable resilience. An Ork could lose an arm and simply get a new, bigger, metal one bolted on. Their technology, a bizarre fusion of scrap and psychic energy, was unreliable and prone to exploding, but when it worked, it was devastatingly effective. Death dreads stomped through the Tyranid hordes, their saw blades whining, while battle wagons, essentially rolling fortresses, plowed through waves of smaller bioforms, guns blazing in every direction. As the days turned into weeks, the planets of the Octarius sector became nightmarish meat grinders. The Tyranids adapted, spawning larger, more specialized creatures. Towering carnifexes, living battering rams, smashed through orc fortifications. Winged gargoyles blotted out the sun, spitting corrosive venom onto the greenskins below. But the orcs thrived in this environment. The constant, high-intensity warfare was exactly what they lived for. The psychic energy of the WAAGH intensified, causing the orcs to grow bigger, stronger, and more aggressive. Spores released from their dead bodies seeded the battlefields, ensuring that new generations of orcs would soon sprout from the blood-soaked soil, ready to join the fight. The war had created a feedback loop. The more the Tyranids killed, the more biomass they collected to create new warriors. The more the orcs fought, the stronger they became, and the more their population boomed. The Inquisitor's plan had worked, but it had created a self-perpetuating cycle of violence that was spiraling out of control. Now, the conflict reaches its brutal crescendo. The entire war is coalesced around a single titanic confrontation. At the heart of the Green Tide is the war boss, Ghazghkull Mag Uruk Thraka, the self-proclaimed prophet of the WAAAGH. He is a mountain of green muscle and cybernetic enhancement, his power claw capable of tearing a tank in half, his presence on the battlefield an electrifying surge of energy for every orc in sight. He is the embodiment of orc, cunning but brutal philosophy, a strategic genius wrapped in a savage's body. He stands atop a mountain of corpses, both orc and tyranid, bellowing a challenge that echoes across the blasted plains. Answering that challenge is the hive mind's ultimate instrument of battlefield command, a Swarm Lord, a unique and ancient variant of the hive tyrant. It is a creature of terrifying intellect and martial prowess, wielding 4 shimmering bone sabers forged from a crystalline substance harder than diamond. Every fiber of its being is dedicated to executing the will of the hive mind, a perfect killing machine that has learned from countless battles across thousands of worlds. It is the pinnacle of Tyranid evolution, the bane of heroes and empires. The two behemoths charge. Ghazghkull's roar is met with a piercing psychic shriek that shatters rock. The ground trembles as they collide. It is not just a duel between two powerful individuals. It is a clash of philosophies. The chaotic, individualistic fury of the orcs against the cold, collective purpose of the Tyranids. The Swarm Lord moves with a liquid grace, its 4 sabers a blur of motion, deflecting the war boss's wild swings and striking with surgical precision. But Ghazghkull is a force of nature. He takes grievous wounds that would fell any lesser creature, and only seems to fight harder, his laughter a booming, insane cackle. His massive power claw crushes in tears, seeking to pulverize the alien horror before him. The fate of the entire Octarius war, perhaps even the fate of this galactic sector, hangs on the outcome of this single epic combat. In the end, one champion falls. But does it even matter? If the Swarm Lord is slain, the hive mind will simply reabsorb its consciousness and spawn it anew, stronger, and with the knowledge of its defeat. If Ghazghkull is struck down, his death will only elevate him to legendary status, and a dozen more warbosses will rise to take his place, each eager to prove they are bigger and badder. The battlefields of Octarius are left a churning, horrifying mess of green and chitin. The ground is saturated with orc spores and tyranid biomatter. The war has not ended. It has simply evolved. The orcs are getting bigger and more numerous than ever before, fueled by the ultimate fight. The Tyranids have access to a unique and incredibly resilient source of biomass, adapting and creating new horrors specifically designed to kill orcs. The Inquisitor's gamble has backfired spectacularly. He didn't create a firebreak. He created an incubator. He forged a crucible of war that is making both sides stronger, more dangerous than ever before. The Octarius War is no longer just a battle. It is the genesis of a new breed of monsters, a permanent, escalating conflict that threatens to spill out and consume everything around it. This is the ultimate lesson of this dark millennium. There are no clean victories. There is no hope of peace. Every solution only creates a new, more terrible problem. In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, the screams of the dying are lost in the cacophony of an endless, galaxy-spanning war. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the lore, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more tailies from the 41st millennium, and let us know in the comments which epic conflict you want us to cover next. See you in the next one.